Hello, MA. So for this video, I'm going to talk about CSS changes. One thing I want you to change is the font, including the font on this page and also the font on the course syllabus page. I want you to change the font that Skillshare is being used for their app. Okay, whichever font they're using, this is the font that we want to use. Course title, I want to use the font for concept art, drawing imagery worlds for all of the big titles, including online chemistry, etc. Okay? And for the table of content, please move the play button a little bit left. As you can see, the spacing, I want the spacing to be same on the left as to the right. If the title is too long, the play button is not really centered, so you need to move the whole thing a little bit on the left, maybe 2 or 3 pixels, so it looks more centered. Okay, and also the minute and the second button, that font is too big. I think it's too big. It doesn't look right. When it comes to the title, just the overall, it just doesn't feel right because of the font. Like some fonts should be small, like the minute and the second should be a lot smaller. It's too big. The play button, please enlarge the play button, make it a little bit bigger, and move it to the left. As you can see, for proof in algebra property of equality, you see when the title is very long, the spacing on the left and the spacing on the right is not correct. Okay? So if I go to AP Calculus, for example, and I scroll down, if you look at arc length for parametric polar curve, for this lesson, the right side spacing and the left side spacing is not the same, so it looks unbalanced. Okay, I want it to look balanced, so as a result of that, like for example, you see right here, it gets cut off, multiple choice calculus. I think the font is, it's a little awkward, it's a little too big, so maybe make the font a little bit smaller. Look at the Skillshare app. You see how they're using their fonts? I want the fonts to be like this. Okay, some fonts are large and some fonts are small. And you notice the 3 minute and 11 second, you know how small that is in comparison to the title of the lesson? And if you notice the spacing on the left and spacing on the right is always the same if the title is long, okay? So these are all the things, all the small things that, that really makes the app look polished is the font that's used. So, let's go with this font. And, if they're putting spacing, the spacing on the left and the spacing on the right is all even. So those things are pretty important, okay? So let's definitely do that, okay? Look at the font that they used. I would like to use for this font as well, and when it comes to things like this, it's just font, it's just CSS. But the font, the way it looks, make the app polish a lot, okay? And so that's one thing. The next thing I want to talk about is the loading graphic. You see this loading graphic that we have? Notice the gradient background? I don't want that because it makes it look cheap. Okay, so I don't want a background. I want it to load just like the lesson loads. I don't want the gradient background. If you're just going to have a loading, make it like this. Okay, I want it to load like this app. So when you click on it, notice that load, it doesn't have a background. And notice when I scroll, between tabs, this horizontal scroll, notice the bounce. Notice how smooth and how smooth the user interface is when it bounces. Those are all things that's important. Look at the typography, the way they, all of these things make up to see how polished an app is. It's just the overall typography, the spacing of the font. It needs to be even, left and right, up and bottom. And when it moves, it needs to be smooth, and things like this doesn't take a year to do. It's just small things that makes a big difference. Okay, so aside from the core functionality, we have to get this CSS and the feel correct in order for this to be a good app, so that people wouldn't want to delete it. Because if this app looks glitchy and it doesn't look good, people are just gonna delete it. They have many options these days. There's over 1 million apps in the App Store. So, we really have to make a polished looking app in order to compete with all these other education apps. Okay, so this is